Providing facilities for education is a great investment for the nation. Statement from the President.
Norachole power plant dysfunctional again. CB requests consumers to use electricity sparingly.
The new laws to be introduced to make it compulsory for subject ministers and deputy ministers to be in Parliament in order to respond to questions.
State Minister Niroshan Pereira says that foreign reserves had depleted in the past year.
No need to go to the IMF with a begging bowl. Statement from the Governor of the Central Bank.
With news from here at home and across the globe, you're watching Primetime News on TV1 and Shakti TV. A very good evening to you. I'm Chaturanga Puarachi, and with me tonight is Stephanie Lasses. Good evening, Stephanie.
Very good evening to you, Chaturanga, and a very good evening to all our viewers joining us tonight. Let's start off with tonight's top story. Today is day 2 of the education fair organised to celebrate the 75th anniversary of the Kalutara Balika Vidyalaya. Newsfirst is a media sponsor for the event, and the exhibition was opened today by President Maithripala Sirisena.
Educational exhibition showcased new inventions of state and private institutions and school students. The President toured the exhibition premises. The President laid the foundation stone for the construction of a new 2-story building of the Kalutara Balika Vidyalaya. Education is the most strong long-term investment that we can make for the future, and we need to provide more facilities. Education is the investment that we have to build the nation as a nation with more intelligence and also place for great persons. Therefore, the new government has made more allocation for education in comparison to the financial allocations made in the previous decade.
The Ceylon Electricity Board has requested the general public to use electricity sparingly from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Chairman of the CEB, Anura Vijaypala, said that at present the Norachole power plant is in an unoperational state. The CEB requests consumers to refrain from using refrigerators and air conditioners from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. Chairman of the CEB, Anura Vijaypala, said that the CEB hopes to restore operations at the Norachole power plant by tomorrow. Meanwhile, Ranjit Siyamala, the Minister of Power and Renewable Energy, says that 2 committees have been appointed to inquire into the reasons for the island-wide power failure. Speaking to reporters this morning, he said that one report will be made public in a week and the other in a month. Yesterday, an island-wide power failure was experienced for a period of 4 hours following a lightning strike onto a high-voltage electricity line that carried electricity from the Lakshapana power plant to the Polpitiya substation and from there to Kolonnawa.
The
grid tripped off in sections. The entire grid failed by 2:04 last afternoon. First, we restarted the system. There were issues when there was no balance in the system. The system failed because of that. We call that oscillating. The Public Utilities Commission has calculated that when a unit of electricity is not provided, the country loses 60 rupees per unit that is not supplied.
Following
the power failure, the operations at the Norachole power plant came to a standstill. It is expected to take another 3 days to completely restore operations at the power plant. The normal electricity generation in Sri Lanka is between 3,800 to 3,900 megawatts. 2,200 megawatts of electricity is used for normal purposes. The consumption of electricity during the weekends is 1,900 megawatts. 900 megawatts of electricity is generated by the Norachole power plant and is added to the national grid. The Minister of Power and Renewable Energy therefore has urged the general public to use electricity sparingly.
විශේෂයෙන්ම නොරොච්චෝලේ ආදී විදුලි ජනනය කරන ස්ථානයන් වල ඇතුණු බිඳ වැටීම
නිසා තමයි අපිට
Failures reported at the electricity generation plant such as Norachole led to the island-wide power outage that was experienced for several hours last afternoon. 2 special committees were appointed to provide a comprehensive report regarding the matter. The electricity board was provided a 1-week period to carry out an internal investigation and to provide a short-term report. In addition, an external committee comprising experts was also appointed. We hope to obtain a complete report from them within 1 month. We request that electricity be used sparingly so that we can control the situation.
අර පිටිමැස්පෙන් විදුලිය පාවිච්චි කිරීමෙන් අපිට උදව් කරන්න කියන පණිවිඩය
විදුලිය ජාතික විදුලි පද්ධතිය අකර්මණ්‍ය වෙන වෙලාවක රතවාහන තදබදයක් ඇති නොවි
We have decided to seek advice from the engineers on how we can ensure that there is no traffic congestion during a power failure and how to maintain the traffic lights to work. We hope to hold discussions with the respective institutions in this regard as well. The Prime Minister has informed the Minister to look into this. Tornadoes are not reported often, but we need to inquire as to whether there is any other matter that needs to be investigated.
සොයා බලන්න කියලා පුළුල්ව හිතන කෙනෙක් හැටියට අගමැතිතුමා අපිට උපදෙස් දීලා තියෙනවා.
සමස්ත ධෛර්යතාව ප්‍රමාණවත්
The overall capacity is sufficient. We can manage even without the Norachole power plant. But what the minister asked the public, since 900 megawatts have been removed from the system, and even though the prevailing capacity is sufficient, we should maintain a buffer amount as well. That is why the minister asked the public to conserve electricity as much as possible. Because after these 2 to 3 days, when we power up the Norachole power plant on Monday, there will not be an issue.
හරි නමත පණ ගන්නවන් පස්සේ අපර ගැටලුවක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Newsfirst contacted the Director General at the Public Utilities Commission, Damita Kumar Singha.
This is the second occasion in which an island-wide power outage was experienced. Are you not bound to provide an uninterrupted power supply?
අඛණ්ඩ විදුලි සම්බන්ධතාවයක් සැපයීම
Yes, the Commission is bound to provide an uninterrupted power supply. The CEB is also bound. Thereby, the government has been successful to a great extent to provide uninterrupted power. There has been a power failure with the adverse weather that was experienced yesterday. That has been restored. We hope to commence a study on how to prevent such things from happening in the future.
Is there an uninterrupted power supply at present?
We have not received any complaints in the last couple of hours.
However, several urban areas, including Colombo, experienced power failure this afternoon. The causes were weather-related incidents. That tree and a branch of the breadfruit tree fell off and the road was blocked. The wire had been broken. It has not been made as of yet. I work as a blacksmith. The power went off in the evening. We have no way to carry out our activities.
We have informed them and we have called them. Nothing has happened. Look at the time now.
The Prime Minister and the Minister of Power and Energy held a discussion this evening regarding the power outage, and the discussion was attended by senior officials, the Ceylon Electricity Board as well.
Opening of the International Democratic Union Executive Committee was held in Colombo today under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the Prime Minister of New Zealand, John Key.
To be a much stronger organisation when we have a representation from the ruling party in India. They're the second most populated country in the world, of course, and having a representative amongst us is all about broadening out the reach and the influence, I think, of the IDU. Gone from ahead enormously under your leadership in the last 12 months. It's obvious for everyone to see how successful Sri Lanka is becoming. We know that you've done tremendous work around peace and reconciliation. We know that those are challenging issues.
The largest democracy in the world, India, one of its major political parties and the present party in power, the BJP, has joined the IDU. It strengthens the IDU as a whole, and more so the IDU, the APDU, because as we found it difficult to function by just having Sri Lanka, Maldives, South Korea and Taiwan. But the presence of the BJP means that we will be able to ensure more and more political parties join us, and we can also reach out to some of the parties in Southeast Asia and even into the Middle East and Central Asia. So these are the issues that we will discuss of how we expand the APDU and IDU in Europe itself.
You are happier to be here today rather than you were last time?
We were very pleased to see the resolution, which was really pushing forward the reconciliation that's taking place here.
There's also a huge debate in your country on a new flag.
Change is always difficult, so it's not to say it's impossible, but it's quite a battle to get there.
An exclusive interview with New Zealand Prime Minister John Key on Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Foreign Minister Mangala Samaraweera called on US Secretary of State John Kerry at the Secretary of State's outer office in Washington, D.C. yesterday.
Their efforts to try to address the regional issues and, most importantly, to make peace in their own country are very, very significant. And we really welcome you here. We've had an ongoing dialogue. This is the eve of a strategic dialogue with Sri Lanka, which will be led by our Undersecretary Tom Shaman, and we very much look forward to defining the roadmap ahead for continued progress. So welcome, my friend.
During the last 12 months, you were able to come to Sri Lanka, the first visit by a Secretary of State of the United States of America in 43 years. We also had the cabinet level visit of Samantha Power last May, and of course many other visits by high-level officials of the State Department. And this has elevated what has always been a very cordial relationship to what I would call a very special friendship between the United States of America and Sri Lanka. And that is why I'm looking forward for the inaugural meeting of the US-Sri Lanka Partnership Dialogue, which I'm sure will which will further strengthen and broaden the relationship between our two countries.
Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran addressed a media briefing in Colombo yesterday to discuss the state of the economy.
I want to make it very clear here that we are not going with a begging bowl to the IMF or to anybody else. Sri Lanka is not a poor country anymore. And we have proved that, for instance, in the bond markets, where we are able to raise all our requirements for the government from local savings. And in that context, going to the IMF does not any longer mean that we are just asking for a loan. Now we are trying to get IMF to agree with us on our policies that we have put forward, so that we can project to the wider investment community globally that we are really adopting the best standards that are available in charting our economic course forward.
Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake, speaking to reporters today, commented on the statement made by Arjuna Mahendran, the Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. I am also reiterating what he had said. There are many things that we are unaware of. One is that there is a huge crisis globally. If China collapsed, it will be reported. India too has an influence. The previous government had not paid the 1,200 million rupees due in 2014. This has been revealed and we need to bridge the deficit and move forward.
The minister expressed his views over the fertilizer shortage.
There is a fertilizer shortage these days, but is this the time you need fertilizer? Why do you need fertilizer when you reap the harvest? You need fertilizer in the months of May and April. The farmers in Poronaro do all of these, but at the same time they reap the harvest. So who needs fertilizer now? Who are they trying to show these to?
The joint opposition convened a media briefing this morning.
Although
the people voted based on the faith they had on President Maithripala Sirisena, what is taking place in the country is the program of the United National Party. For the first time under the UMP government of Ranil Wickremesinghe, a situation has arisen where the rupee falls off the people's pockets. We have reached a decision on the constitutional reforms. We will not allow anything that harms the country to take place. When it comes to constitutional reforms, all of us in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party will be on one stance.
The price of paddy is 18 rupees. If the price is 18 rupees, the farmers will hope to sell it for 10 rupees. The government hopes to purchase the paddy by the end of March. When paddy is purchased for 28 rupees by the end of March, who earns an income? Farmers have no storage facilities. The government has not slashed the debt of the farmers. The government has pawned the local agriculture to other nations.
Do you believe that you will be victorious at the upcoming local government elections?
Our primary aim is not victory but to have elections. The elections are not taking place, so we need to ensure that the elections take place.
Are you of the view that Mahinda Rajapaksa would be the leader of the new political party?
We do not need to discuss that now. For a political party to be created, there needs to be an election. After the elections are announced, we can take a decision. The leader can be Mahinda Rajapaksa or even Romesh Pathirana.
The National Freedom Front, or the NFF, convened a media briefing today.
Fighter jet training by the Sri Lankan Air Force has been stopped in the skies in the north. Where in the media do we see this? If a part of the country's skies are barred by the legal air force of the country saying that training cannot be carried out, then there is a huge problem. Does the media report this? I question this in Parliament. Did anyone from the government provide an answer? The Air Force has been unofficially informed to not carry out fighter jet training in the north. The media has been given a frame and they play within this frame. In addition, the opposition members tamed by Ranil Wickremesinghe are showing their false opposition.
Newsfirst inquired about this from the Air Force media spokesperson Group Captain Chandim Alves. He stated that the Air Force headquarters is not cognizant regarding such an incident. In addition, the Army media spokesperson Brigadier Jana Jayaveda stated that the Ministry of Defence had not taken any such decision as articulated by Vimal Veeravansa. After independence, Sri Lanka has begun to feel the change in the quality of education. Sri Lanka has etched its mark as the best of 8 nations in South Asia in education. This is a reason for joy. Allegations. 66,000 million rupees spent on the construction of the Mahindodaya laboratories without calling for tenders. Spending 4,248 million rupees more than the amount that should be paid to conduct computer programs. Allegations of fraud in a number of programs conducted through the Asian Development Bank. Uneven distribution of pianos provided through Korean funding. Recruitment of officers to the Education Ministry without conducting competitive examinations.
News from Parliament. UPFA parliamentarian Dinesh Gunawardena today was granted an opportunity to raise questions in Parliament under Standing Order 23.2, which is given for the party leaders.
The opposition group of the United People Freedom Alliance had continuously made requests to the Speaker to provide this opportunity, and it was granted following the party leaders' meeting that took place today.
Dinesh Gunawardena, the Deputy Chairman of the UPFA, was granted the opportunity to raise questions under Standing Order 23.2 after making UPFA Parliamentary Group Leader Nimal Siripal de Silva aware of the matter.
But I wish to congratulate him.
The Leader of the House wishes to congratulate me. A request was made to you to raise questions from the Joint Opposition under Standing Order 23.2, and today we have been given the opportunity to make a statement. We thank you for that. Accepting that there needs to be opposing views, and respecting those views in a democratic parliament can be witnessed as a victory for parliamentary democracy. We did not engage in any act which attempts to demolish or disturb the proceedings of Parliament. I'm happy we were able to resolve the issues that were put forth by MP Dinesh Gunawardena, including the freedom of speech. I would also like to extend my wishes. Just as I mentioned on the first day, these can be resolved through discussion without disheartening anyone and without insulting the dead relatives. I hope that we could work together in the future. I do not think insulting the dead relatives is a good tradition. I hope that we could avoid such recurrence in Parliament in the future.
The depletion of foreign reserves is a topic of discussion in Parliament today.
Do you accept that the foreign investments not arriving and that foreign sales being higher than the foreign buying in the share market in 2015 as reasons for the decline in the reserves?
Now we have to pay the debt.
The foreign sales being higher than the foreign buying in the share market in 2015. Was this not the reason for the drop in the reserves?
There is a 0.4 billion decline, and that is due to various reasons.
The answer is either yes or no. The finance minister stated here that in order to bring any amount of money into the country, and that we will not question how it was brought in. Has the minister taken a policy decision to ignore the regulations of the central bank to increase reserves?
There has been no such policy decision.
I hand over my third cross question to MP Bandula Gunawardena.
When there is a negative indication in the classification of Sri Lanka in the pitch rating, the central bank has asked that the report regarding this not be produced. Are you aware that there is a negative indication in classification for Sri Lanka in the pitch rating system? We are aware that we have to face certain challenges in the year 2016, and we accept that. We will not shy away from this.
They asked tycoons abroad to invest in the country for an interest rate of 8 to 9%. Even though they shout saying that these are our reserves and the money was borrowed, these should be returned. You say shamelessly that here is our money. Are they? We have to return this.
Speaker Karujai Suri announced that subject ministers and deputy ministers must be present in Parliament to respond to questions raised by MPs, and that he hopes to change the standing orders.
I made a statement yesterday. The Leader of the House accepted the facts mentioned. The subject minister should have arrived in Parliament and provided a definite answer on that matter.
ඒ පිළිබඳ නිශ්චිත පිළිතුරක් ලබා දිය යුතු තිබුණා.
The respective minister was informed. The minister must come to Parliament to respond to the questions. The responsibility of calling the minister does not lie with me. That is your responsibility. The minister contacted me. He said that he will respond to the question on Tuesday. He did not come here because he is attending the Democratic Union meeting. He said that he will respond to both the questions. The absence of ministers to provide answers to the questions raised was discussed at the party leaders' meeting. The Prime Minister has also drawn his attention towards this. We will change the standing orders. We hope to bring regulations where the minister or subject minister must be present in Parliament to respond to the questions.
You're with News First. Today is day 3 of Sri Lanka's largest people-oriented campaign, the News First Gum at the Door-to-Door initiative.
The campaign was launched to identify the hardships faced by individuals and villagers in the most rural areas of the nation and highlight those issues.
The program is organized by News First and is supported by the University of Peradeniya.
The News First Come at the Door-to-Door campaign reached out to several rural areas in the north, northwestern and Uva provinces. The team in the Uva province commenced their journey today from the Makulala village in Bandaravilla.
No one looked into this tragedy. They have not drawn their attention towards this issue. We are once again thankful towards the Civil Media Institution. You have made many commitments towards us. We have continuously highlighted the issues that arose due to the Uma Oya multi-purpose development project and the lack of drinking water. In this backdrop, the authorities had taken measures to lay pipes in this area. However, the locals say that although this process commenced 5 months ago, they have not been able to obtain water.
The News First team inquired into the problems faced by the residents in the areas of Udaperua, Palleperua, Madaperua and Varagalathanna. Another team visited the villages of Amaruduwa, Konthala, Uduture, Molatukumbura, Mathetilla, Kurukudegama, Parahettia and Ambepura to inquire into the issues that have not been addressed. The Newsfirst government, the door-to-door campaign in the north, commenced their journey from the Chunnakam area in Jaffna. Our attention was drawn towards the issues faced at the Kankasanture Mailadi Northern Kalemahal Mahavidyalaya. 207 children of the individuals who were displaced due to the establishment of Kankasanture High Security Zone study in this school. They reside in the temporary houses built in the Kannani and Pillai areas.
Now these children are not asking for too much. They are asking for the proper infrastructure to carry out their education. That's just 1 or 2 buildings. That's all they want, because these children are attempting and doing their very best to get an education. This is something we should cherish. This is something that we should support.
The other team, which visited the northern province, went from door to door by writing down the problems faced by the locals. They met the residents of areas such as Amban, Kudaktane, Nagarkovil, Maradankerni and Thalayadi. This was a village located in the heart of the conflict zone. The team, which covers the northwest, commenced their journey from the Digannava Sri Vardhanarama in Kurunegala. The Newsfirst team visited the villages of Mudaliyava, Rambedeva and Palugalla, which have been neglected by the authorities.
This is a tank. Because of the sand moving onto the banks, the catchment area is filled with sand. What you see is all mud. Let's see how deep the mud is. If he goes beyond that point, there is no saying that he would return. This tank supplies many acres of paddy land with water. If this fills with sand like this, many will lose their means of earning an income.
Another Newsfirst team visited the villages of Kumbukwava, Diagama, Nambadeva, Igala Rasnayakapura, Unagola and Ambepura to inquire into the issues faced by those living there. The program, which covers 25 districts organized by Newsfirst, is supported by the University of Peradeniya. Gammat, the door-to-door initiative, will take place till the 18th of next month.
The University of Peradeniya is considered as a place where professionals and intellectuals who made socio-political and economic changes in Sri Lanka were nurtured.
Once considered to be the best amongst the best universities, the University of Peradeniya has been in existence for almost 84 years.
The University of Peradeniya is the heir to a 60-year-old university tradition which commenced with the inception of the University of Ceylon. Is the first institution of its kind established in 1942. From 1942 to 1952, it was named as the University of Ceylon, and from 1952 to 1972 as the University of Ceylon, Peradeniya, and from 1972 to 1978 as the Peradeniya Campus University of Sri Lanka. Since 1978, the university was named as the University of Peradeniya. The university covers about 700 hectares of land, and the developed area covering approximately 130 hectares is occupied by buildings of the faculties, halls of residence, staff bungalows, etc. Sir Ivor Jennings was the first Vice-Chancellor of the university, serving from 1942 to 1954. Sir Nicholas Atiagala, who succeeded him, becomes the university's first Sri Lankan Vice-Chancellor. He was a product of Royal College, Colombo. He was an academic and a physician.
With reference to a university, there are 3 main functions, duties or responsibilities. One is training graduates and professionals necessary for the country. Number 2 is engaging research. Number 3 is national service. I believe as a university, Peradeniya is doing best in all these 3 areas.
Those who hail from the Peradeniya University have contributed to the national in colossal ways. The name of Professor Edirivira Saraschandra, the pioneer in Sri Lankan state drama, continues to strive ahead in the premises of the university owing to the theatre area. This is incidentally the birthplace of the well-known drama Singhabahu. At present, the University of Peradeniya caters to provide education and knowledge to many of those who pursue
the single largest public service initiative in Sri Lanka. The News First Gum at the Door-to-Door campaign covering the most rural parts of Sri Lanka, giving a voice to the voiceless. The News First Gum at the Door-to-Door initiative.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News at 9. I'm Stephanie Lazarus.
I'm Saturanga Puarachi. Take care and good night.